Cartoons. They went from being the top of the industry in shows to having a pretty steep decline recently. So let's talk about an older cartoon. Tom and Jerry, a classic show of cat and mouse. And today we're going to be talking about its rise and steep decline after it. Trust me, they did have a decline. The first Tom and Jerry was pretty new to the cartoon business. Why am I saying that? No, they weren't. It was made by Warner Brothers. After Warner Brothers made Looney Tunes and realized these animated shows were profitable, they decided to make another one. But this time they went a bit riskier. They put barely any dialogue into the entire show. There were only a couple hundred lines in the entire show. And for as long of a series as Tom and Jerry was, that's pretty impressive. And as you guys probably know, Tom and Jerry was a massive hit. Why? Because at its core, it never was anything special. It was basically just a show with slapstick gags every episode, but the props changed every episode. But they did a good job at hiding that. With new character introductions. The show started off with like 3 characters. Tom, Jerry, and whatever human that they decided to put into the show to have like 3 lines the entire episode. But soon after, they would introduce Spike the dog, which was a pretty cool plot device. Spike the dog is a dog. Basically, what would happen every episode he was in is that he would barge into the house and start attacking Tom and Jerry. They wouldn't necessarily be working together, they would just not be hurting each other. After they both devised their own separate plans to defeat him and failed, they both decided to work together to make one big elaborate trap that got rid of that pesky old dog. You see, Spike brought in a whole new genre of episodes. Episodes where Tom and Jerry could work together. Tuffy was introduced, and those were basically like Mouse's first day on the job. Tuffy was Jerry's younger cousin, who was taught how to be a successful cat rage baiter. Some other notable characters: Tom's friends, most notably Butch. Most of the time they just sat down and rewatched old episodes, which was actually a pretty novel idea back when they did it. This was the first show to do this. To recount actual episodes that happened. It was now confirmed that all this was canon and that Tom and Jerry has an actual plot. Quackers was a talking duck. Yep, I said talking duck. Anyways. This didn't ruin the show because he was introduced as a character who was allowed to speak in the show. Just like how the humans in the show were introduced as characters who were allowed to speak. That's what we call foreshadowing. Tom and Jerry was a massive success, and what came after it was a decline. It wasn't steep in the way of throwing someone out a window and them dying on impact. It was more like them hanging from a window ledge and slowly slipping with each release until at the end, where they finally fell and died. So that's great. The Tom and Jerry Comedy Show. This show wasn't necessarily bad. It was just worse than Tom and Jerry in every way. You see, the reason Tom and Jerry was liked so much was because they were so good at hiding the fact that they were just a show about slapstick gags with different props every episode. But the Tom and Jerry comedy show couldn't do that. They didn't have multiple different characters. They had Tom and Jerry, which doesn't really leave much room for pretending that this isn't such a simplistic show. So everyone saw how simplistic the show was, but people still liked it because it was Tom and Jerry. It was still pretty good. Tom and Jerry Tales. Oh boy, where do I begin with this one? Tom and Jerry Tales was interesting. It was Tom and Jerry, right? It was just Tom and Jerry with a new coat of paint, right? Yo, Spike the dog, what's up? Hey, what's up? Wait, what? Ah, yes. The start of the Spike the dog can speak now epidemic. Remember how I said Quacker was a good character, even though he did speak, because he was introduced as being allowed to speak? Spike wasn't. And now he's just been retconned and be able to speak now, and it's unnerving for any die-hard fans of the original, you know, like me. So that was pretty bad, but the show itself wasn't great either. There was a lot more speaking than normal. Well, it was pretty jarring, and something about the music was off-putting for Tom and Jerry. It was a little too new. It was weird. But the show that came out, and sure, dang, why did I just cut myself off mid-sentence? Anyways, sure, Tom and Jerry was in a pretty rough state right now, but they could still recover with their new show, The Tom and Jerry Show. Not to be confused with the Tom and Jerry Comedy Show. This show was supposed to pull Tom and Jerry out of this, like, cavern it had gotten itself stuck in, and bring it back into the public spotlight better than ever and make Warner Brothers more money. Unfortunately, the show released. The Tom and Jerry Show assassinates every part of the original show. First of all, Spike can speak again. Second of all, there are more speaking characters and more speaking lines than ever. The scientists, the humans, the rat dude. The show episodes themselves aren't even, like, remotely good. It's barely even a slapstick show anymore. It's like a sitcom. It's a slightly more, it's kind of like Reba, honestly. It's kind of like Reba. It's a wacky sitcom, and I did find myself laughing at some of the jokes, mainly made by the rat dude. But this completely disregards everything that Tom and Jerry is supposed to be. The rules of Tom and Jerry is that barely anyone speaks, and it has a bunch of different characters. And sure, they have a bunch of different characters in this show, I'll give them that. It's not Tom and Jerry, or the comedy show. But it's nothing like Tom and Jerry in any way. People didn't like this show because it completely destroyed Tom and Jerry and everything it was supposed to be. We have discussed by now that Tom and Jerry is supposed to be a mostly silent cartoon about a Tom and a Jerry who chase each other around, sometimes with extra characters. That is fun. And over the course of these shows, Tom and Jerry slowly slipped more and more into, like, just not being Tom and Jerry anymore. This isn't Tom and Jerry. This is the cat and mouse show. Tom and Jerry are no longer have distinct personalities. They only are a cat and a mouse. So that is what I think of the Tom and Jerry fall off, decline, whatever you want to call it. So, I'll see you next time. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you steal my blanket, I'll make you cry. See ya.